I would like to get through the rest of this book today because I got something on Thursday that would be good for me to be at next Thursday. So let's try to get through the rest of this book. So we're on Stave 4, the last of the spirits, which I think we can. The stave is not very long, and the ghost of Christmas Present really, I think, is like the ghost in this story. Like it's maybe the past too, but like there's so much stuff. And what surprised me when I was reading this last night was how much is. I don't know if it's specifically referenced in the page of these last two staves, but it just took my heart to those previous. What we've learned about Scrooge in the past, and there's some things that kind of reminded me of this. I also finished watching the Disney's Christmas Carol, which, for the most part, I think is very true to the book.
Yeah,
it's kind of a weirdly animated one, but it's like they're directly quoting the book a lot. The thing that I thought they did really well was how they presented this ghost of Christmas not yet come. Isn't that what he calls it? And is that the ghost is his shadow. And I thought that was a very interesting way of presenting that they kept having this hard light off to him, and you could see a shadow in the ground, and his shadow would become this cloaked figure, and it was the shadow on the ground that was pointing the ways and all that. And that, I was like, I didn't get that imagery when I read the book, but I thought that was kind of like his shadow is on the future. Like that's
somebody was really thinking when they did that.
Yeah. The other move that when I was watching it, I did not like, but as I woke up this morning, was driving around doing a couple errands this morning and all that, I couldn't get out of my head, and I've decided that I like it now. Is that as they're going around, when he's hearing people talk about him being dead and all these different places, he ends up shrinking down to the size of like a rat. And there's this whole sequence, and I was watching, I'm like, this is dumb. And they that he's being chased after by this like ghostly hearse is chasing after him through the streets, and he's the size of a rat. So he's little. And so he's like going through grates in the streets and through pipes and all these things. And I was like, this is dumb. Why'd they do this? And I couldn't stop thinking about it this morning. And I think it's because they wanted to give a sense of where Scrooge felt small, where his desire has always been to feel large and in charge. And I was like, oh, I bet that's what's going on. And I ended up kind of liking it. So I don't know. So, this ghost doesn't really talk.
No. He doesn't talk at all.
Not at all.
Points.
Yeah, he did a lot of pointing.
He compels Ebenezer to narrate his own story.
Yeah.
That's difficult enough.
Yeah.
But this is really very dark. It's
super dark.
This is on the borderline of ugly. The fact that people barely know this guy and they have nothing but contempt or ignorance or disdain, and he's been reduced to a pile of rags over which to pick.
Mm-hmm.
That's his value, despite indeed the darkness doesn't stop. They actually strip his corpse.
Yeah.
Right.
It doesn't get much darker than that, folks.
Yeah, that's the image.
This was a real toe tap, right?
Yeah. That is so when they strip him of his clothes and the bed curtains and all that stuff, that's when the movie makes him small.
Yeah, I can see
like that. That's
amongst this darkness, he recognizes that perhaps the first time, he has an obligation to demonstrate gratitude to whom? To this horrible, monstrous phantom. Because throughout all of this despair, he understands he's being gifted something for which he ought to demonstrate gratitude. So he says, I'm going to have to buck up on the promise that this is going to make me better, which is interesting because even the concept of better was not a part of his life.
Right.
So this, no, you're good. It's this one, like I was conflicted throughout this whole time. The fact that Scrooge had to narrate for himself was, I thought was interesting that the Phantom really doesn't talk at all. And I got a sense of, and this is very, Chris Escher looking at it and all that, but it reminded me a lot of David, of like King David, especially kind of how we were looking at it near the end of his life, that he just kind of realizes, it's like, oh yeah, well, I did something wrong again. Well, I'm sorry, God. And I kind of got those feelings. And here's one of them that gave me those feelings. And I could be completely wrong, but I kind of kept getting them over and over, so much so that I went back and like started underlining stuff that I got these feelings. I mean, there's no page numbers in this, but it's near the beginning. Ghost of future, he exclaimed, I fear you more than any specter I've seen. But as I know your purpose is to do me good, and as I hope to live to be another man from what I was, I'm prepared to bear your company and to do it with a thankful heart. Will you not speak to me? It's like that. When I read that, I kind of got a feeling like Scrooge knows is the last one. I just have to endure this. Like, oh, I'll change. Like, it's kind of like when you scold your kids, and you're like, are you sorry because I caught you?
This is because of David?
Well, no, like it just sounds like David, because and this is Chris Escher theology.
This is once again inside baseball for you and
yeah.
Oh, David,
right? So what I'm talking about is and kind of at the end of the Samuel narratives, the books of Samuel, King David, like he kind of, especially after the Bathsheba thing, it seems like, and tell me if I'm wrong, it's he kind of seems like, oh, well, when I do something wrong, I can just bow before God and I'll be all right. And like and that's kind of like a general sense that I kind of got to the narrative at the end of David's life. Because remember the Christmas story in Samuel there, where he collects the census and all that stuff. He realizes that he upsets God, but he doesn't actually do anything for the good of the people. He does it for himself.
That, in effect, diminishes my observation of his epiphany.
Well, that's why I said it, not to diminish you, but it was, I looked at it through a different lens, and I thought both needed to be amplified.
I was just trying to redeem this guy.
Well, I know.
Well, I took it to be, because in the last, was it Christmas Present, where he says, I wish I could talk to my clerk now. He was starting to think I could be a little bit different, probably be more, and so I didn't take it that he was just like, oh yeah, I'll just get it over with. I took it as now okay, I've got stuff, I've learned this much, now let's just finish it. But I think this is the ghost that turns him into the end of Scrooge. Yeah. It's so over the top.
Well, and so in my thing, I think he wants to be this person. He wants to change his life. He wants to do all these things. He wants all that stuff. But I don't think it's not until he endures what he sees with his spirit does he actually change. I think he wants to. So it's not a complete diminishment.
Right.
That's what I think. I could be totally wrong. That's why we're all here.
During the goes to Christmas Present, he's already starting to think, wow, I'm not the kind of person that I should be.
Mm-hmm.
But then once this other spirit gets on him,
He takes some persuasion, which is why he takes 3 ghosts.
As I read this last section, it was just how he never realized it was him through the whole thing that was like lying.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
He just like, oh, who is this man? Or where he kept looking in the streets for himself, and all over.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Yeah.
if you don't
It's
see
obvious.
yourself, like, come
Boy,
on.
those bed curtains sure look like mine.
How many of us have known someone so totally
Oh, yeah.
lacking self-awareness?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like that's, one of the things I thought was a very key quote here. It's kind of near the beginning. It's when he's on the streets and Scrooge was at first inclined to be surprised that the spirit should attach importance to conversations apparently so trivial. I really liked that quote. Like that's and that's why I think I've gone back to the way the movie handled it, that it made him small.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what he realizes, just at how big everything is.
Perhaps we all hope that when we're gone, there'll be some posterity, some
Big
legacy.
parties.
If not big parties, at least somebody will have a kind thought.
Yeah.
And he's looking but not finding anything that would amount to a kind thought. People barely know him, and if they do know him, they have nothing but disdain for this guy. This is his legacy. This is what he's shown in his life. Now this is what he's going to reap in the next one.
And maybe that's why they made him a rat, because he's so trivial to everyone else that they just made him small.
And he's having to run away, and the way he runs away from the beginning is the guy who's buying the bed curtains tries to beat him away like a rat. And so like that's
Well, this agreement, even in Dickensian time, it is nothing lower and more filthy than a rat.
yeah.
Nothing gives you the
Very
willies
disease.
or the creeps more.
Mm-hmm. And that was and let's see, what I wrote a note on the top of this one page that says he was fine. Why did I write that note? Because I think it has to do with kind of how I was
Who is fine?
Scrooge. I think it's kind of he's realizing that in his before time, like what I mean by that is we so often try to collect more and more and do more and more because we feel like there's this inherent sense that we're not fine, that we're having to work for something more, like that's, I don't know why I said it. Shouldn't even have said anything there.
right?
Yeah.
What was the context? What part of the story?
It's the it's right after that quote that I read. It's that next paragraph.
I missed it.
So the Scrooge was first inclined. It's the very, very beginning of a paragraph, not far along from the beginning of the book, not too far along. Scrooge was at first inclined to be surprised that the spirit should attach importance to conversations apparently so trivial. The next paragraph down, he looked about and for the very place for his own image. Well, this is what you were just talking about.
Right, he couldn't find himself.
Another man stood in an accustomed corner, and although the clock pointed to his usual time of day for being there, he saw no likeness of himself from all the multitudes that poured in throughout the porch. So I don't know why I wrote that. So pay no mind to the man behind the curtain.
Yeah, well, the paragraph before that, I underlined, treasure up every word he heard.
Yeah.
Because Mary treasured up all.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Nice.
There you go, inside baseball.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. That's good. Yeah. So true.
And below there, I also underlined charcoal stove.
Charcoal stove. Yeah. The charcoal fire. charcoal fire. Like that's for those of you who don't know, you will at some point.
Do I do?
Yeah. It's one of my favorite Bible stories. We don't have no time for it now.
My friend that makes videos.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. And so, let's see. So they continue on, and they end up going to, let's see. Yeah, so all the other people that are kind of talking about his death, like they are just treating him with kind of almost as this disdain, like they're laughing. That's so you have Miss Dilber. You know, what odds, Miss Dilber said, the woman, every person has a right to care for themselves. He always did.
Yeah.
And it's like he's seeing his estate just get treated like he treated everyone else's. Which was interesting as I think about it now, when we talk about the people benefiting from his death, that they were going to be destitute, but because he is dying, someone else may hold their debts that will treat them with kindness.
Yeah.
And that's those residents there really started to, like, I wrote a lot of notes at the end of the book. And because what I think, old Dickens is telling us here.
When I reflected on his previous experience going to his nephew's house, or encountering more remotely the Cratchit household, there was color, there was light, there was vitality, it was human beauty. And in this stave, the people are the ugliest imaginable people.
They are.
They are physically repulsive. Again, Dickens is painting with an incredible stroke.
Yeah. And yeah, go ahead.
Even the buyer was 70 years old.
Yes, I saw that.
Even just
Wow.
really, really
Yeah.
old. And this time
Yeah.
in England.
The wonder he was still alive.
Yeah.
At
Yeah.
70.
Back then, probably that.
Yeah.
That's what I'm
It's
saying.
true.
Yeah, 70.
We're not talking nowadays.
No. Lee, you were
I'm kind of wistfully remembering that.
Lee, you were about to say something.
I think that Scrooge is showing what a lot of people feel. Will God really forgive me? Can I be forgiven?
Yeah, for what is doing, and that's what I liked about that movie, with like that the ghost is presented as his shadow over the future. Like this dark spot in the future. Like, oh man, what an image.
Along those lines, where what Lee was saying, what interests me is it took him to see his death before he realized the error of his ways. And in that same light, why does it take so many of us some major event before we really realize who's in control of our life and what it all means to us? Where this is the extreme situation where it's taken him to see that he died in order to figure out what he was doing wrong all of his life, and he tried to make amends for it. Most everybody else takes other events till they come to the same type of realization of what it's all about, and it's got to do with being good to all and others and everything else. I mean, there's a great message in that to all of us, not just for Scrooge to have come and turned the corner.
Yeah, exactly.
He has isolated himself so much from the world that he is unable to see. He's blind. And it's taken this traumatic, I don't have any more time. This is what I've been missing. I've been missing. Each day was a blessing, and I blew it.
Yeah.
Is it possible that he's never acknowledged that he's going to die?
Yeah.
Well, don't we all feel the same way?
Thank you for that. I'm leaving.
like that's, I mean, and he sees all these people just pilfer through his things. You know, they just take advantage of it and all these things. Yeah, so it's and the thing that really stuck out to me was when they go away from all the people pilfering his things, and he sees now how his style of making money and living is actually causing detriment to the harm and the health of the people around him. And that, I had not realized that that's where this story went. Like, really, none of the movies really show that. And they try to show it with the claw, the children underneath the post of Christmas Present. They try to show that. But I'm reading the book here. I was like, oh my gosh, like, the reason why these people are struggling is because of him. You know, that's the reason why. And I was like, ooh. So like the people that lost their, you know, they were in a bad way, and then he dies, and they're like, that's good news to them because they may be able to get their feet underneath them. You know, even if someone else buys the debt. Like that's huge. Let's see. I underlined a bunch here.
I like too when, well, maybe we're not there yet. When he takes him to his room and the dead body's there.
Oh yeah.
And he says,
that's before that.
yeah, plundered and bereft, unwashed, unwept, uncared for was the body of this man.
Yeah.
His writing is just.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
This is like, wow.
Talk about painting a picture.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then the whole thing about death set up the
And
altar.
the cat carrying at the door and the sound of gnawing rats beneath the hearthstone.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So this, I think this is one of the parts that I underlined here that it kind of shows like how people are viewing his death. It's we may sleep tonight with light hearts, Caroline. Yes, soften it as they would. Their hearts were lighter. The children's faces hushed and closed around to hear what they so little understood were brighter, and it was happier house for this man's death. The only emotion that the ghost could show him caused by the event was one of pleasure. Ugh, like this, let me see some tenderness connected with the death, said Scrooge. Or that dark chamber, spirit, which we left just now, will be forever present to me. So let me see some tenderness connected with the death, or just take me to the darkness, like is what Scrooge is saying. Like, gosh, like that's, I mean, that people like in the way that's like, even though the kids didn't understand what their parents were talking about, they knew that their life was brighter. Like that's like, you're talking about like someone's aura, you know, changing, you know, it's like that kind of language. Unbelievable stuff. Let's see, what is the, and all these people that had a better life and opportunity because of this.
The world was a better place for his death.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, not just this person, that person, the world.
Yeah.
It's cleansed itself. Oh, man.
Yeah. Like that's it. And that's heart wrenching because it's just, you know, and the way it's written, at least for me, was like a mirror. You know, I really had no desire to point at other people and be like that, you know, like while I was reading this. I don't know how you guys felt about it, but I was just like, you know, how, you know, like it's how in the world are, you know, what are the ways that I've made things a little worse? And I think that some of our most impactful stories are around that. Like that's basically what Schindler's List is about. You know, like that's why that's so gut wrenching at the end. and so that's what do you think about the Cratchit's existence? Do you have any thoughts on that? Like I think it's like the even that family, even though Tiny Tim has died and they're all super sad, like things are like swinging a little for the better. Like
Well, they're going about their business as normal.
Mm-hmm.
The ladies are sewing and
Yeah, it is solemn and gloomy though.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
his death is has visited the house.
makes them weak by candlelight.
Yeah, and I'll go back to the movie since you watched that. The scene when Scrooge is sitting on the stairs and Bob Cratchit comes up and he's walking up the stairs and they can't see Scrooge, but that was really impactful. It looked, they did it where Bob just stops on the stairs. He's just looking at nothing as he's going to visit his dead son body in the bedroom, but Scrooge is underneath him, and it looks like he's looking right into Scrooge's eyes, like that. Even though he can't see him, and I was like, ooh, that was that. I thought that was well done. I thought that was well done.
Although, despite the immense tragedy in the Cratchit household, none were venomous to Scrooge.
Especially Bob Cratchit.
They
Yeah, he wouldn't say anything.
they're consistent in happiness and sadness, and did not spew vitriol toward a man who could have made their life happier. So they are consistently decent, good people.
Yeah,
And even decent, good people have to sacrifice loved ones.
Well, yeah, because even here they said, Mrs. Cratchit, she was happy to hear that he passed, and then she prayed forgiveness in the next moment and was sorry. But the first was the emotion of her heart. So, even though she was happy, she was also asking for forgiveness for
She's still heartbroken over his son.
Yeah. Complicated emotions.
And this echoes earlier experiences reflected by women who always spoke truth when the men were talking in circles.
We beg your pardon.
And he asks again right here at the end. I mean, it's a little bit before the end, but before I draw near to that stone to which you point, said Scrooge, answer me one question: are these the shadows of the things that will be, or are they the shadows of the things that may be?
So back to the shadow.
Back to the shadow.
So that's where they. Okay.
It's. I think that's where they're getting it.
Yeah.
But he's just like he doesn't know, and that's what drew me back to like when I said earlier he was like David, like he knew. He's like, I will be able to correct my life. Like it's like so. Let me explain where I'm being informed by that. There's a lot of times somebody will show up in the church and their life, maybe they're going through a divorce, something happened.
Feed me for
Like that. That's it's. I was just looking around the table. Like that. That's. But like through big things, and they'll show up, and they last 6 months, and then they're gone. Like that's.
You're right.
Well, you've been counting on that.
Yeah. Like that is a reality that like I see constantly. I see constantly. Something will happen in their life, and they start showing up and getting involved in all these things, and then just as fast as they came, they go. Like that. That's fine. We have an opportunity to give them gospel during those times, and all those things. That's what I felt like Scrooge was doing at the beginning. he's like, I've seen the error in my ways. Like, I will be a better man.
How long?
Yeah, you know, all that stuff. And that's why I was like, it sounds like David to me. It's he wants it to be genuine at the beginning. Like, he feels it. But I think him staring at his own bed, knowing that that's himself, like, and hearing the rats screeching, like, underneath the hearthstones and all that stuff.
The cat trying to get in.
Yeah, the cat trying to get in, and all that stuff. And then him, like I don't want to look at that stone. I don't want to look at that stone or that
At
grave.
that point, he knows the name that's on it.
Yeah,
He knows it.
he knows. He's probably known the whole time, but he doesn't want to look at it because we know the whole time. Like, we know, and we're like, get it together, man. You know that's you. And like that, all those things, and then here he is. He's past all that point, you know, and let's see here, in the finger from the grave, pointed from the grave to him and back again. No, Spirit, the finger's still there. Spirit, he cried, tight clutching his robe. Here I am, not the man that I was. I will not be that man I must have been, but for this instance, why show me this if I'm past all hope? You know, like that's. I mean, he's got nothing left, you know, like that's, but
he reverts to being a businessman. You know, what's the deal here? You know, I'm putting up, I'm doing what I have to do, and you're still not paying off. Give me some guarantee that all of this agony is going to get me to where
Yeah,
I
he
want
keeps
to.
asking, you know, is this really going to happen? Is this really going to happen? Like,
Yeah.
he keeps asking that
He doesn't
over.
understand. It's not the ghost, it's he who's got to do it.
yeah,
Himself.
yeah. And I love how Lee wanted to talk. Lee,
Oh, sorry.
The spirit doesn't answer him.
yeah,
He's looking for that guarantee, and the spirit doesn't give it to him.
and I love, in that same sense, I love how the spirit goes away at the very end of the stave.
Yep.
It shrunk, collapsed, and dwindled down into a bedpost. Like just an ordinary object, all of a sudden, just kind of standing there, and then so that's, and then we go into the into the next stave. So what stood out? What stands out to you here in this stave? There's a bunch of stuff that stands out to me in this one. Like the mood definitely changes.
I loved, he was so glowing with his good intention.
Yeah,
Because he was dark.
yeah,
Now he's glowing.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah. Like that, the glowing. And like he immediately goes to his bed curtains. They're not torn down, cried Scrooge, folding one of his old bed curtains, one of his bed curtains in his arms. They're not torn down, rings and all. They're here. I am here. The shadows of the things that would have been may be dispelled. They will be. I know they will.
It's one thing to be blessed, but when you know you're blessed, as Scrooge finally recognizes, he's a blessed man, that makes him turn into fire.
Yeah.
It's not enough that people around, his nephew is how you're blessed, you're lucky, if what it means nothing.
It's not until he sees it.
Until he recognizes
Mhm.
himself.
Yeah. Like I have enough, everything's good. Like that's, and you can see how he's dealing. Like, and what I thought was brilliant is how he's like dealing with the children, and he's dealing with them in the same way. He's the same person, but they are now a joy to him.
Yeah.
Right.
He's like, well, that's a dumb answer.
You keep waiting for him to do something sarcastic.
Yeah. And so like he's like, oh, well, bless that child, like that, you know, like go over there. It's like, what a good kid, you know, like that's
An intelligent boy.
yeah, intelligent boy,
Remarkable boy.
yeah. And he's like, well, hurry up, you know, like over there. So like he's the same, yet where he's coming from is like, you could say, like from the other side of the grave
Right.
type of thing. You know, like that's where he's coming from, is from this complete other side. And now he's laughing rather than bah humbugging and all these things.
I'm thinking about going to baby showers and baptismals.
That
one coming up.
Yeah. Yeah. We got big baby shower.
What am I doing here?
We've got the cool thing about the baby shower this week. The first service will have baby shower this week. Yeah, baptism. Baptism.
I'm so confused.
Don't worry, I'm right there with you.
We
got big baptism. The cool thing about this one is we did not marry the couple here, but they started coming here before they were married. And they started coming here, and they've been part of this congregation. They go to the first service since they started coming here. That's been two full years ago?
Yep.
Yeah. And
I think they're in I was in their class or my class of new members.
Yeah. And so they came and they're around and so they're having their first baby. And so like this one is, we've had a lot of baby showers recently, but this is like one of the first ones where
That was a nice one.
Yeah, when they are baby showers and baptisms where they are us from the whole thing, and that's exciting. So that's first service, by the way. First service for Katie and John and little.
I have an appointment. I'm sorry.
What?
Hey,
What?
the end of that.
Yeah.
What a slap in the
Nobody
face.
Slap in the face.
Can't make
Yeah.
appointments on
Have a
Thursday.
good appointment, Gloria.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So one of the things there's two little notes I had. The first one I wrote was new life, and this is kind of, I don't know, maybe 10 or so paragraphs from the beginning of the stave. Really, for a man who had been out of practice for so many years, it was a splendid laugh, most illustrious laugh, the father of a long, long line of brilliant laughs. I don't know what day of the month it is, said Scrooge. I don't know how long I've been among the spirits. I don't know. I'm quite a baby. Never mind. I don't care. I'd rather be a baby. Hollow whoop, hollow, rather than bah humbug.
Yeah.
He's giving whoops now. And the fact he uses that baby language and he's fine.
If you want
Yeah.
to be loved by God, you must be a baby. The babies are the chosen.
Yeah. Like it's that new life idea.
Yeah.
That new birth. That new,
Cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, I was like, oh, look at that. And then I wrote Whoville next to this. And it's the very next paragraph underneath that. And it says he was checked, let's see here. He was checked in his transports by the church's ringing out the lustest peals he had ever heard. Clash, clang, hammer, ding, dong, bell, bell, dong, ding, hammer, clang, clash. Oh, glorious, glorious. And the funny thing, when you think about Whoville and the story of the Grinch, and you think about the way Dr. Seuss is presenting them playing music, it's not good music.
Oh, that's right.
The Grinch was right, probably, in that he hated their music. Like it didn't sound good.
It's dissonance.
It's dissonance, and yet he ends up celebrating it. And when the way he describes the harshness of that bell, that he's probably heard that bell his whole life now, and he's like, gosh, that needs to sound better. But now it's this glorious sound because it's ringing in Christmas there. And cool. I was like, oh, that's cool. That's what good imagery. What good imagery.
Pastor,
Yeah.
the thought that came to my mind was the Polar Express,
Which part?
the ringing of the bells.
Yeah.
When the boy says that as his friends got older, they couldn't hear the ringing of the Christmas bell.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But I still believe.
But that I still, yeah.
Yeah, I could still hear it. Yeah, even my sister can't hear it. All that stuff. We almost used Polar Express this week's Christmas idea. I may still bring some of it in, but probably not. So, and then he's like, it's Christmas Day. I haven't missed it. And like all that, go get that prize turkey. and this is why we eat turkey at Christmas and Thanksgiving now. And it's like, that'll be twice the size of Tiny Tim, and he's just giving this. And it's not just that he's generous to the Cratchit family. It's that he's paying the butcher to ride a cab to go deliver it.
Because they thought it was too heavy to carry that way.
Yeah. Which is now, like, you're seeing the change. It's not just about, I've become aware of this family's struggle. It's like he's now realizing the struggle.
He realizes he walks among people.
Yeah.
It's not about him.
Yeah. Like that is that is the biggest thing that I saw in this last little stave here. Here, another little quote here: "A Merry Christmas to you." And Scrooge said often afterwards that of all the blithe sounds he had ever heard, those were the blithest to his ears. And like he was, why was he saying that? It was, again, like it's this like small stuff, but he now loves it so much so.
When Cratchit would say "Merry Christmas" to you, he would be repulsed by it.
Yeah.
Bah, humbug.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then him going to his nephew's house. Mm-hmm. And I thought it would have been so easy to just have him go to Cratchit's house. Mm-hmm. But for him to go to his nephew's house and
that's forgiveness.
Yeah.
That's something he's never done.
Mm-hmm.
Is forgive others.
Yeah. And
but before that, he finds the old guy who came to his office looking for.
Oh yeah.
And says, "Oh yeah, come back."
Yeah. And then whispers something in his ear.
Yeah. Back payments.
Yeah.
Again, he's in a glorious celebration of a second chance.
Mm-hmm.
He did not expect, because he never gave anyone a second chance.
Mm-hmm.
Probably
not.
Not probably.
Never. Yeah. No, never.
That was too costly.
Only his sister.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Only his sister.
Yeah. Which I think is
I remember in the book.
Yeah, which is something that I think probably led him to this path that he was on. And that's the sense in this book that I picked up, was that his life isn't 100% of his own creation. Like like from the very beginning, when he was alone on Christmas, that we would talk about that, when all, his sister died, and, his nephew is always like, Christmas, yay, like all that stuff. And he's like, and he's like, it's just great because he just remembers losing things. Like, and we see that shadow has continued, and Scrooge has done nothing to stop it, to halt that feeling. And this is what I really saw, is that, our shadows of our own selfishness, our shadows of our own sin, that they cause hurt in other things. And there's and you see it all around us. There's systemic hurt that we end up supporting a lot of times.
They really cast a darkness. Those who are abused, abuse.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And the whole blue Christmas thing too. Not everybody
Yeah.
finds Christmas to be a wonderful time.
Oh yeah. Like it's Mark and I, when we were writing stuff, we often lean into blue Christmas stuff, because a lot of people, Christmas is so associated with someone that you love dearly, and that person isn't there anymore. Be it grandparents, spouse, kids.
You have to fight that and have them with you.
Yeah.
That's what I have to do. I lost a daughter, I lost a wife.
Yeah.
But they're still there. They're still with me.
And you have all those memories of them. And it's so easy to just go be by yourself, like Scrooge.
Yeah, it is easy.
Yeah, I saw myself in Scrooge when he was a child at that boarding school.
Mm-hmm.
Because when I was 13, I was in a boarding school. And I could go home for Christmas, but I couldn't go home for Christmas because I lived within 100 miles of New York City. And the requirement was if you lived within 100 miles of New York City, you had to stay at the school over Christmas because every day we sang at Radio City Music Hall in the Christmas show.
Oh, wow.
So I didn't get to be home for Christmas, but my parents were there. My girlfriend's parents were there.
Easy there. Easy there. Easy.
Yeah, but so I knew what it was like to be not alone, but alone for Christmas. Not like Scrooge, where he was actually alone.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I was with,
Well, there wasn't the Christmas that you wanted, or
wasn't the normal Christmas with the
right.
train platform and the Christmas tree and presents under the tree at home.
Mm-hmm.
It was, well, next weekend when you come home, we'll bring you home next weekend.
Yeah. Yeah.
We'll have Christmas then.
So that's, and to just close out the story here, he was like, I'm going to raise your salary, Bob Cratchit. Yeah. And then he ended up becoming like another father to Tiny Tim. Yeah. And Tiny Tim was able to live, and is known for his laugh. His own heart laughed, and it was quite enough for him. Like in that last paragraph, and he had no further intercourse with the spirits, but lived upon the total abstinence principle, which I thought was a funny way of putting it, of the spirits.
Spirits.
Yeah.
Different kind of spirit.
Yeah. And even afterwards, it was always said of him that he knew how to keep Christmas well. If any man alive possessed the knowledge, may that be truly said of us and all of us. And so, as Tiny Tim observed, God bless us, everyone. And the biggest thing that I took from this was how we teach the commandments here in the Lutheran Church, especially 5, 6, and 7. And 5, 6, and 7 is don't steal your neighbor's life, wife, or things. like that's just how we teach it in the confirmation class. But don't kill, don't commit adultery, and don't steal. And how we teach those is the way we teach confirmation, how Luther teaches it, is there's a negative thing and there's a positive thing. And yes, like don't kill is, don't kill your neighbor, but also if you see your neighbor hungry or cold and you do nothing, you've killed them. And it's, don't commit adultery, but if you gossip about your friend's spouse and talk about how terrible they are and all that stuff, like you're taking part in those things, and like in theft, if you are not helping your neighbor maintain stuff,
omission is a sin.
Omission is a sin, and so that's the biggest. When I was reading this at the end, I was like, this is what this book is about. It's about realizing that we are in this together. That we are in this together. That here we are, and that we live together, and it's not always perfect. It's all that, but a lot of times it's backwards. Dare I say, it's beautiful, like that's and so that's kind of what I saw was kind of the point of this book.
And everything that you have articulated, we're speaking about Dickens. The story is in between us and the man. It's Dickens who has this insight, which I just marvel at Dickens. I mean, he's always been amazing, but all of this that we've just spent 3 or 4 weeks, this is Dickens. That came out of Dickens' life, Dickens' head, his existence.
I also like the levity that he displayed at the end when Bob Cratchit was late for work. Cratchit, come in here.
Yeah.
And then so I'm going to punish you by raising your salary.
Again, he suddenly had self-awareness. self-awareness.
Yeah, about who he is.
Yeah.
Who he was.
Who he was.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
was.
And that's, I think, is like, suddenly you don't, it's not that you just change, but you're redeemed.
Mhm.
You know? Like, that's I think the biggest thing. Like when someone all of a sudden changes, it's like, I'm always wary. But yeah, when someone, like, they're still self-aware, like, it's different. It's different. And the biggest thing that helped me after reading this was watching the second half of that movie after finishing reading it, and watching that Ghost of Christmas Present again. Like, I was like, oh my gosh, that stuff hits so much harder now knowing the end, because it reminded me of Scrooge complaining to the Ghost of Christmas Present. It's like, well, like, by them taking off days, like, they're able to earn less. This is your fault. He was blaming Christmas,
Yeah.
for that. Like, they're taking these Sabbaths and, keep them from, like, providing for their family. Like, and that's Scrooge saying that. And then also in the Ghost of Christmas Present, and I kind of think this is the most beautiful nugget, and I think it's my favorite, is when Tiny Tim came back from church with his dad in Ghost of Christmas Present. And Bob is talking with Tiny Tim, and Tim said, well, I'm glad that I get to be here around these people, that they could look at me, a crippled boy, and they can remember Jesus who made blind men see and the lame walk. And I think that's the book right there, that even in our own indiscretions and our own inadequacies, that our sin, our darkness, our own things, that other people can see, and they can see how God redeems and heals. And like, I think that was the book, and I think it's good news. What else is anyone else have?
It's interesting to me, with Tiny Tim with the crutch. I wonder if, because I was a part of it, John Carlo Menotti, when he wrote Amal and the Night Visitors, if anyone has ever seen that, was thinking of Tiny Tim, because Amal was crippled and had a crutch, and his gift when the kings came to their residence and spent the night, his gift was the crutch, because then he could walk.
Yeah.
As soon as he decided he was going to give the crutch, he could walk.
Mm. Yeah, like, it's a cool story.
Yeah, you should.
I don't know.
It's on YouTube, I believe.
Oh, is it?
It's from 1951, 52, 53. It was on television.
Black and white.
Black and white.
As some side conversation, one of the singers, little boys, became a colleague of mine in the Republican Party as adults.
Which one?
Oh, he has a singing part and everything. He was, I think,
Chet Allen?
I've read this story over my life, countless times, but never this way.
Oh, yeah.
Never this way.
So what has changed? What do you think?
Context.
Context?
I have a different context.
Yeah.
Thinking about it, you read it and you say, okay, yeah, well, that's nice. He changed. He's good. But when you delve into it a little more,
Well, I had the conceit
It was
of
really
assessing
interesting
the
to sit down.
characters and the arc of the story. I didn't really know what I was reading.
Yeah. You're
I said it was good to, like you said, delve into it further than just, you read it and you're like, oh, that's a great story. But then to really sit and like take it apart.
yeah.
For which
Yeah, it was a good one.
is owed to you a debt of gratitude.
Oh.
No, I'm not throwing bouquets at you. I'm just saying thanks.
Yeah. Well, this is Lee's fault. This is Lee's fault. She's been banging this bell.
Oh, well, thank you, Lee.
She's been. How does he put it? Ding, glang, gong.
yeah.
Like, like clash, clang, hammer, ding, dong, bell, dong, ding, hammer, clang, clash.
Richard
Oh, that
Reed's
glorious sound. That's what Lee has been for the last year.
Richard Mason.
Richard Mincer.
Mincer, yeah, he was,
that's.
he was behind me in class,
Richard Mincer?
yeah. He was class of 54, 55 maybe.
But
I was 53.
oh man. But yeah, so that's I think it's cool, and I think it's
Nice.
to see that our sin, our hurt can cause hurt and pain to other people, but there is redemption, and I think the redemption arc is seen through Tiny Tim, and that that we can see that, and we can see that there is redemption, and even hear the bad bells and go, hey, that's good. That's good.
For
So let me say goodbye to all the people
Oh, yeah.
that are streaming. For all those watching the recording, thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you in the new year. All right. So for everything going along here, nothing next week.